6 or 5?
How about
1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. Yeah.
And 4. Yeah, okay, I'm on.
It's been fabulous, Danny. It's been one of those wicked little shows where you go around. One thing that I always get out of these shows at this time of year, which is lovely, is the amount of kiddies here, the amount of little ones, and it's been a real surprise the amount of children here this year, all with big beaming smiles on their faces. They're loving it. You know, these classic cars are. The clubs have put on amazing displays. We're going to be presenting, or I'll be presenting, the club awards a little bit later on this afternoon.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, and the club awards, they've put on amazing displays, all the clubs. It's been one of the best car shows I've ever done.
Yeah, magic. Really enjoyed it. And you had a good time?
I was had such a great time. You know, I live overseas, so when I come back to the UK, it's such a great experience because I've been doing this show for 10 years now, it's really great. It feels like 20 working with you. I wasn't great. And, you know, I get to meet up with old friends and see all the car clubs. And I just got to echo what Mike says. It is a sensational show. Look how great the crowd is, and you're right, it's full of younger people. I mean, there's the old duffs as well,
But the truth is, I mean, when we did this 10 years ago, when I was doing this 10 years ago, the demographic was 10 years older. We're going back in time, aren't we, Fuzz?
Well, yeah, we are going back in time, except on the stage here, where it's definitely the latest cast lineup of Last of the Summer Wine.
I think that's the only show Gary's not been in. Gary, what do you think of the show? You enjoying it? Oh, hello. Here we go.
It's not on. Here we go.
Yeah, like I said before, you can have the dead one.
It works for me.
Yeah, like I said before, it's the best classic car show you could ever dream of, really. Everything's here, isn't it?
Yeah. All the activity, all the fun in it.
And like Mike said, it's full of kids, which is great.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Okay, so let's turn it over to you guys. I primed you. I want to see at least one hand in the air. Give me a question. Yes, sir. I'm coming straight your way. You were up like a rocket. So tell me, what's your name?
John Deacon.
And what's your question?
The question is to all members of the panel, how can we get more young enthusiasts behind the classic car movement? I get to speak to lots of youngsters who have a vague interest in cars, but they don't really seem to have a great deal of encouragement available to them.
Come on, how do we encourage you?
Okay, I can go on this one. I think that the world of classic cars needs to understand that classic cars are not necessarily from the middle part of the 20th century, and we need to have more and more modern classics in there. So we should be looking at cars. There should be a load of cars in here dating as recently as the early 20-teens. You know, we need to get people in here who are into the cars that are around at the moment. They might be old, they might be slightly old-fashioned, but we need to get those cars in here now so that those people can see all of these other beautiful machines. And once everything is gathered together, then people will start working together.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the problem, Fuzz. I mean, back in the 70s and the 80s or the 60s, cars were workable. You could work with your dad and everything was doable on them. Now a lot of them are computers, and that's part of the problem, I think.
I'm not so sure, because I think they can be worked on. What do you reckon about?
Well, I got a little thing. I think you're wrong, really. I've never seen so many young people here enjoying the classic car world. Every year I come here, as Danny said, the audience seems to get younger and younger. We're just getting older. But I've been encouraged by the amount of youths out there on the club stands working on cars. There's at least half a dozen stands I can walk you to right now where everyone working on the cars will be under the age of 20. And that it really is encouraging. I know we're trying to inspire young people to get into the classic car movement, but I'll be honest with you, I think they're just doing it themselves. You know, these cars are a bit more interesting than what's out there. Nobody wants another Euro box that's boring and dull. People want to have the feeling of what their dad had or their granddad had, and it's still true with the youth of today. So I think you're wrong. I think there are a lot of young people out there really enjoying this hobby.
What do you reckon, Am?
Yeah, I mean, the bigger question is, and this comes up a lot about skill shortage. You know, particularly when you think about how easy it is to restore or work on an older car compared to a newer car. And there's this alarming statistics about the number of people that aren't getting into our industry and our trade. And actually, shows like this are really, really good because it demystifies it. It shows you that actually we are an incredibly accessible sector.
Yes.
I think we're really approachable. I think we're really fun. And generally, I don't know a car person that isn't unlikable, and I think younger people are working that out. So I think we should have more government support. There should be more support in schools. Kids should know how to change a wheel, change the oil, service their car. So if the government made that change, we'd get even more young people into it. But if there's a young person out there that doesn't know this exists, then we should tell them, because it's freaking cool.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd say is keep doing what you lot do as well, because TV, YouTube, you are the gate for people to come into this hobby of ours. So keep doing what you do. A number of people I know who started with Wheeler Dealers or SOS or watching somebody on YouTube, and then they turn up here 5 years later. So you guys are part of that solution as well. I've got another question here. What's your name, mate?
Hi, my name's Peter, and this question is to all of you. You've worked together on hundreds of cars. What's been your favourite car to work on? And on the other side of the coin, which is the one you've seen glad to see the back of?
There you go, one by one. Start with Mike.
Well, me, I've got 3 cars that I'll choose 3 or 4 actually through different periods of my sort of TV husband, if you like. So my first TV husband, Ed, most definitely it was the Lamborghini Urraco. That was an amazing car, sorry. That was an amazing car, and we loved that car, and it was so lovely to do that Lamborghini Urraco. And me and Ed, we had such an amazing time in that car. We absolutely loved it. We really did love it. So that's one that I regret, and one of my favourites. With the Ant period, there's 2 cars, and I think Ant's going to possibly say the same. They were the Ford Escort Cosworth. Most definitely the 3rd wing. That was just such an inspiring, amazing story and a brilliant car to run through the workshop with Ant. It was the first time we did a show together as well. And then later on in that series we did an Austin Healey 3000, and it was just incredible because me and Ant, we wrote the show before we chose the car. We wanted to set out to expose how to get a car sold at auction, because you only get 4 minutes at auction to make a decision whether you're going to buy it or not. So we set out to make sure that the car went to auction and got sold under the spotlight of people, which was brilliant. And then in the later series with Elvis, it's right there on my stand. It's the Mark 1 Transit. I loved it so much, I bought it back off the people I sold it to, and I'm so proud to own it. It's such an amazing vehicle.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not going to mention a Wheeler Dealer car. Sorry.
See ya.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to the last guy.
In TV land, where is Danny? Oh, I can't see. In TV land, we get an opportunity to do some really cool and quite expensive or frivolous builds. I did a show for Discovery last year called Celebrity IOU Joyride, and in one of those episodes, it was with an actor called James Marsden, if you possibly know him. And we took a 1960s Buick Electra, so I think a big yank tank, cut the guts out of it completely to create a shell. I then got a brand spanking new Karma Revero, that's a £120,000 car. Got a 9-inch angle grinder, cut the roof off it, cut the panels off it, cut the doors off it, and lowered the Buick Electra shell onto the Revero. And the wheelbase was about 40mm off, so I extended the arches, made a bespoke set of aluminium wheels so it looked like it had tiny little steels and big sidewall tyres to accommodate the brakes. But if you get a chance to see that car, I painted it in Aston Martin sage green, carbon fibre bonnet. Are we boring you? No, don't engage about it. You've embarrassed yourself enough. The carbon fibre bonnet, carbon fibre boot, but please, in fact, just Google it, the Celebrity IOU Buick Electra. It was remarkable.
Now that's a big boy build, that was absolutely for sure. I think that's a great one. For me, I kind of go back to the trad things. We did an AC a Seeker years and years ago on Car SOS, and it's still to this day the car that I would love to wake up and see in my garage, in the morning. Absolutely beautiful. And the worst car, the car that has caused me the most trouble was a VW Corrado, of all things, which we did like a year ago or something like that. When we picked it up, this guy from a garage over the road, he came over to me and he said, we've had nightmares with that car, with the electrics. He said, it's terrible. You're going to have problems. And I was like, yeah, no problem at all. We'll be fine, absolutely fine. I started taking the driver's door off and realised that instead of the plug-in socket, it had just been hardwired. I then found an immobiliser. I then found another immobiliser. I then found another immobiliser. In fact, I found 7 immobilisers all hacked into the wiring on this thing. And we also had a remit. Tim had promised to modify it to put a stonking great turbocharger on it. The ECU wasn't having it. It was basically what we should have done was rewired the car right from the start. But we just we wrong-footed ourselves, and it turned out to be a complete nightmare. We get it running, we drive it for 50 miles, absolutely great. Give it back to the guy, doesn't work. We'll bring it back again, we drive it, do some more work in it, drive it another 50 miles, give it back to the guy, 5 miles down the road, it's broken down. It's just absolute, just a nightmare. Eventually he got it back, but I was embarrassed, really embarrassed.
Go on, Gary, what's your favourite? What's the worst?
My favourite one was probably the 220 SE Cabriolet, which I did a nut and bolt restoration, and it took me a year, and I was really proud of the car when it was done. I think I mentioned this before, Danny. I went to see it at a dealer's in London, and it was just like the day I sold it. I was really proud of that. It was like brand new, underneath, inside and out. Probably the worst car I've worked on, my brother Lee has got a Toyota Land Cruiser 1970s. And he'd been passed from pillar to post over a couple of years, and he'd been ripped off left, right and centre, terrible workmanship done on it. I went, give it to me, I'll sort it out. He chose the colour, I rebuilt all the suspension, I took these stupid big wide wheels, oversized wheels he had on it, flashed them, got the original suicide wheels on, you know, with the what you call them?
With the hubcaps.
The wheels that had the ring. The ring on the
the split
people's heads off. And I tracked down the proper wheels, put them back on, rebuilt all the suspension, repainted the car, literally took the seats out. It was like a brand new car when I gave it back to him. He went, I didn't pick that colour. 6 months of hard graft. 2 years later I went to see it. The big wheels were back on it. He'd snapped all the steering because the wheels weren't the right ones for the car. It was just totally destroyed. All rust everywhere. I was like, I'll walk away from this one. It's just like down to experience, brothers, eh?
Thank you very much, chaps. We've got another question. What's your name?
Becky.
Becky, and what's your question?
It's difficult for me. It's going back to the skills, because a lot of youngsters, they're not suitable for like A-levels, university and stuff. So going into like an apprenticeship where they could go into, you know, learning these skills and things like that, like I did when I was 16. I did lathes, milling machines, stuff like that, and it's just not available anymore. And I just don't know how we could sort of try and make, because the incentive isn't there for the companies to take apprentices on anymore, because the funding's not there, you know. I just don't know how we could sort of, I don't know.
Well, there is the Association of Heritage Engineers apprenticeship scheme that's based on Bicester Heritage. So there are some really good classic and traditional apprenticeship schemes that are out there. But I think what has happened over the past few years is apprenticeships have been devalued by sort of a bit of a policy of saying, right, an apprenticeship is 2 years. 2 years you come out with a certificate. An apprenticeship is much longer than 2 years. It might be 4 or 5 years of initial studying, and then you qualify as whatever discipline. But I know one thing, absolutely for sure now, that I have not stopped learning since I picked up my first spanner, and I will never know it all. None of us ever will.
I don't know if there's much we can do. You know, we are just warm props on TV, but we are a voice, and I do go and stand. I get the privileged position with Danny. I do get to go and speak sometimes in the Houses of Parliament, and I speak about motoring issues. So the next time I go, I'll definitely bring it up, most definitely.
I think it has to be done at government level. It has to be a big policy. The government has to have faith in manufacturing industry again, and when it does, it'll need apprentices. It's as simple as that. There's a whole generation of young people who have been consigned to the waste ground because they're not academic, but they are good with their hands, and they've got nothing to do at the moment. It's got to change. Right, I've got another question here. What's your name?
Claire.
Okay, Claire, what's your question?
In the TV programmes, do you have a large selection of mechanics to help you out? Or is it just you guys that are doing all the work?
Come on, the rude truth, let's hear it.
Okay, in my show, yes, we do. There's about 10 of us in the workshop, all working away. When I say 10 of us, I call that the royal we, because I'm doing a lot of filming. So, you know, I'll come along, I'll do a cream job, and then you know, walk away from it. Or I'll, you know, quite often I'll take something apart, and then somebody has to put it back together. It's quite a nice life now. It didn't used to be that way, but it's got easier for me. But yeah, there's a team of 10 of us. There's no way that we could do the cars in the time that we do, which is between 800 and 1800 hours. No way that we could do that size of build in that time without a huge team. And also a lot of people in the background, a lot of different companies like Aldridge Trimming, MJA over in Bromsgrove, various people helping us out, allowing us to do all the jobs that we need to do simultaneously so that we can do the builds in the time that we've got.
Well, I'm working on the wrong channel for the wrong show. I should be working with Fuzz on his show, because Discovery Channel give me 11 days to restore a car. That's it. That's what we get, 11 days. And we have Elvis, and we have an assistant in the workshop that supports Elvis, only in the sense that if Elvis is changing, say, a front upright, a hub, a disc, and a set of calipers on camera, you only need to see that once. You don't need to see Elvis do the other side. So if we're changing both, you know, there'll be somebody on the other side of the car doing it. And then we have another little workshop where in there we've got a part-time guy called Dave, who was here yesterday, who turns up and just makes sure that the cars are ready for us to drive. No, we don't. I'm on the wrong network. We ain't got 10. We turn a car around every 11 days. Even the sound recorders, the cameramen, me, we're all jumping in on the cars in between takes. We all jump in on the cars and work on it. No, we don't get that kind of...
A lot of people don't actually realise you are all right with Spanish, aren't you?
Oh yeah, of course I am. Because I embarrass him. That's the only reason. I embarrass him. That's the only reason.
So the last one I want to ask, Gary, how many people work on your show and your cars?
Just a little old me.
Hey, that's the
He's good though. He is. He's properly good.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think it to look at him, but he is. Right?
Okay, I want another question from you guys. Come on, they're here. You might as well ask. Here we go. Okay. Right, this year, what's your name, sir?
It's Pete.
What's your question?
So, as I called Mike earlier on. So, my question is actually to Fuzz. These guys are actually selling cars back to people, so money goes back into the project to help fund things.
Yes.
Your show is very much heartfelt and fantastic. Where does the funding come from because some of the cars are very expensive that you actually do up?
Well, that's right. So, I mean, most of the builds that we do are not economically viable in any way, shape, or form, and that's the case for most cars. Most cars will be done for the love of it, absolutely. But yeah, so for us, National Geographic give the production company, which has been Renegade Pictures now wall to wall, gives them a budget, or gives them an overall budget to make the show. The production company then decides how much it's going to spend on the cars. Now, we always try and push that envelope because we want to do as much of the cars as we can. But we cannot, there's no way that we could do our show if it wasn't for the generosity of others, other companies, other people, clubs, etc., getting involved and helping us out. So allowing us to do more than ever we could do with the budgets that we have and with the time that we have. So we get a lot of assistance in that way. But that's because I think, you know, we don't sell the cars. So it's not it's not sort of looking for that onward sale. We're just looking to give somebody who's done nice stuff or been through a little bit in life We just look to give them their car back, and so yeah, that's how we're able to do it. We could not do it any other way.
Really interesting. How about you guys? I mean, you get the money back when you sell the cars, but there must be more to it.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. I mean, some people are very fortunate. They buy a wheeler dealer vehicle off the likes of me and Ant or me and Elvis, and sometimes we put 20 grand into a car that you'll see me sell on the screen for 10. Because obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that doesn't get accounted for because you didn't see it. So it's only the stuff you see on screen we account for on the programme. The stuff that happens behind the scenes, like, you know, new brake lines, new fuel lines, new tyres, you know, safety items, new exhaust, all that stuff happens, and you never really see it on the screen, but we hide those costs, you know, those costs get swallowed. So yeah, the show doesn't make a penny. Obviously the age-old question from people out there is, you never make a profit because you don't charge labour. And I go, yeah, but you're missing the point of the show. The point of the show is you're showing you that a couple of guys buy an old car, fix it up, they sell it, and there's a potential profit there. That's where the money comes from. We're not a business, we're not a service garage, we don't have a clock that we clock in and clock out on a labour charge. We're just showing you that you can do this. In fact, Ant never tackled a problem on wheeler dealers without saying very first, okay, so you can get yourself a nice set of tools and have a go at doing it. That's the way it's written, and that's the way it always was. So people out there is a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes to get these cars to the state they're in, and some people get a very fortunate car that costs a lot more money to build. A bit like, you know, with Fuzz. I mean, I've seen the builds. I watch Car SOS really diligently, and I watch the builds on it, and they're epic. You know, the builds are way beyond what we do on wheeler dealers. They're fantastic builds, and they're nut and bolt. And the money that goes into them, I often think, how do they do it? You know, how can they put that show together? And we can't. You know, we don't have that budget. But yeah, there's a lot of people, as Fuzz says, a lot of people behind the scenes, a lot of support, almost every member of the team. And I'm sure Fuzz is the same, works way beyond their wages. So, you know, people get employed to work from 9 to 5. Yeah. Most people that work for us turn up at 7 in the morning, don't leave until 10 at night, although they're being paid from 9 to 5. Everyone that we work with goes way above and beyond what they're asked for.
Really interesting stuff, thank you. We've got time for one more question, so get your hand in the air, there, straight up. We've got a friendly face in the middle of the audience. Hello, sir, how are you doing?
I'm well.
And what's your name?
Chris.
Okay, Chris, what's your question?
What I was going to say to the panel was this. I'm getting rather ancient now, but I do remember when I was young and we went out in the car and my father had a whole series of them, that inevitably there'd be a breakdown of some sort. The car would cough, the brakes would bind, something would go wrong. So in the boot, there was a very big toolkit, always, with a few odd bits and pieces. Well, I, as a young boy, watched this happening, and that in turn gave me the confidence to tackle my own classic, which I've got now. And I like to think that my son, who's on my left here, has done the same. You get experience from watching what your parents do. However, my other day-to-day car is a modern car, and all that's got in the back is a wheel wrench and a can of foam. So no one's going to learn on the job, as it were, and so I think the skills that my father taught me are not being taught, as a matter of fact, every time we go out in the car. So I suspect that the confidence that I have in tackling jobs is not there with the younger people.
So how do we
some people over there really like that. They love that.
Absolutely brilliant, got a big cheer. So how do we learn by necessity in a world where there's no...
I think it's really important. I mean, I've got 3 girls, and I've taught my wife and my 3 girls how to change a wheel. Just the basic rudiments of looking after your car. If you teach your kids how to service a car, just those simple things, you know they're independent, and from there they can take it wherever they want. I think just teaching the basic rudiments, and it goes a long way. Like my dad taught me, and you know, his father before him.
I think you know, maybe I seem to remember at school. It was a very, very long time ago though, when I bothered to go there. Yeah, in the 1940s. Yeah, thanks. That was so when I seem to remember that there was like a life skills fortnight or something like that, where you know you'd learn to do a few things, like you'd learn to fry an egg or make it, cook a basic meal, sort of basic life skills. And it wouldn't be a bad thing if that sort of thing were reintroduced. If it's not, I don't know, is it still around? But reintroduced, and including, sort of how to change oil on a car and all that kind of thing. All of these basic things. Then we'd have a platform on which to build.
Cooking an egg in school these days, Fuzz, they'd be terrified, wouldn't they, of hot oil and spitting oil and whether they're damaging the egg or. So we can't stop it. Cars are better these days than they were back then. They were crap. They broke down and they fell apart. So you had to learn how to keep them on the road. And the march of
don't make them like they used to.
March of progress means that your cars are now better, and they do have foam and a wheel brace in the boot because